Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at one very interesting high-grade kit. This is the HG Gundam GP00 Engage 0, also known as the RX-78 Gundam Development Testbed 0, or something similar to that. This is from the mobile game UC Engage, or Mobile Suit Gundam UC Engage. Now you can probably tell from that box right there in the background that monochromatic blue that this kit right here is premium Bandai only, and if I'm not mistaken it came out in January. So if you're finding it hard to grab a kit like this or any rare or even standard kits that you want, you'll always find them where I got mine, and that is through BUYEE. So thanks once again to them for sponsoring this video. Now let's get right on into the review. So before I get into the actual model kit itself, I'm going to mention what this is from very briefly, just in case you don't know. Now, I'm not too familiar with this, so this is a little bit of a, well, very basic rundown. First off, the Gundam GP00 Engage 0 here, you can probably tell from the overall design, but this is very similar to the GP01 from Stardust Memory, and that is essentially what this is, a precursor to that. Now, before in, I think, Dengeki Hobby Magazine or Hobby Japan, they did have a design series of their own where they had a GP00 known as the Blossom. Now, according to the actual lore of this particular game right here, and all of the footage you're seeing right here is from that game. Oh, and I'll also mention, this guy right here, Jik, or Jisk, or Jek, or whatever his name is, the collector, this guy's channel is awesome. If you want to see some Gundams in action, cut out all the story, you'll find all the scenes on there. Absolute legend. But yeah, this is a mobile suit right here that was developed in tandem with the GP00 Blossom. And this, of course, is a test bed for using multiple bits on. So that does mean in the actual game, there's multiple variants of this with different packs, different attachments, different this, that, and the other, kind of like what we would have seen with Advance of Zeta. Now, the only thing I can really say about this game and the only thing that I know about it is the cutscenes are stupendous. They look so cool, lots of absolutely over-the-top Zeta-era mobile suits, including Zeta kicking the absolute crap out of the Engage 0. The game actually features the Varghese as well as Moon Gundam, so you get to see Moon Gundam animated. Honestly, I feel like this is so wasted on a mobile game. This could have been an absolutely killer series. Such wasted potential. Over-the-top mobile suits, variants of over-the-top mobile suits like the Camphor. This looks like it had it all. Honestly, it needs an anime. But yeah, that is enough about UC Engage itself. Let's talk about the model kit. Now, jumping right on into the aesthetics, this is one vibrant and unique high grade. And there really is two aspects of its design that jump out first. One, this has a lot of Stardust Memories GP01 in its design, and two, this is one of the very few super rare Gundam designs that features an actual feminine silhouette. Like, off the top of my head I could say the Noble Gundam, that's probably about it. You could argue Ariel and Rubris, but not so much. So when it comes to Gundam, this is a rare Gundam design. But anyway, getting into the overall look of this kit right here, the Engage 0, this definitely has a whole lot of GP01 going on, especially in the lower legs, the knees, and to some degree in the arms as well. Like I mentioned, the overall silhouette of this kit is quite feminine. It does have a little bit of an hourglass-esque shape and a lot of curves. It's got a really cute head to round it all off, and the head has a little bit of an age style vibe mixed with a little bit of Stardust Memory. When I say age, this is called UC Engage Age, so I assume that is on purpose. It's got a big old glowy lens thing in the middle of its head with that kind of separated white V-fin, looking fantastic. When it comes to the colors on this kit, for the most part it is very color accurate. The colors in here are very striking, like what we would have seen with the Gundam Age kits or the revive of the high grade RX-78 too. These are some bright, nice colors. Now, there is a little sheet of stickers in here which does have a lot of color correcting aspects to it, but nothing that critical. First off, we do have a bunch of the actual foily parts for making up all the sensors on this kit, and this kit has a lot. So just like I mentioned already, we've got the eyes in here, we've got the almost Age Gundam style thing going on in the forehead, this time in pink. We've got some shiny foils for some sensors around back, in the chest, and on the backpack too. And not to forget those absolutely massive sensors in the clavicles. Next up, when it comes to these stickers, we do have some black stickers for using in the center of the chest. So these black areas right here, these are stickers. There is no actual plastic color separation. Next up then in here we've got a lot of long line-esque red stickers. Now these are for all the GPO1 style Stardust memory recesses that are red on this kit. Now these should be stickers, but I decided not to because this is a very easy thing to paint. If you grab yourself a Gundam marker in red, I got this one right out of the standard Gundam color Gundam marker set. You can just paint this into each of those groovy little parts. You don't even have to be all that careful with it, and then you can just sand the excess off the outside and you will always get a fantastic result on white plastic. Honestly, I do think it looks a little bit better than the stickers, but the stickers are included. Finally then, the last sticker we have in here is the V for on the crotch. Well, it's a little bit of a letdown. We get these crotch Vs in full color accuracy when it does come to entry grade kits, but sometimes when Premium Bandai designs a kit from scratch, which they did here, this is a 100% designed from scratch Premium Bandai release that they're totally going to milk to death with all of the other variants of this particular mobile suit. But yeah, you're either going to have to paint that or just do what I did and line it just to make it kind of pop. But yeah, no yellow for that. Lastly then, when it does come to the rest of the detail on this kit, this does look great. The colors on here are very nicely color separated past the ones that I just mentioned. We do have a lot of nice detailing. We've got some of that multi-stacking layer of parts, which I just love. That means some of the gray from underneath is coming out past the armor and some of the vents and various aspects all over the mobile suit. This isn't universal though, and we do have some vents on here that are just in white, which will need a little bit of detailing up if you choose to do so. A little bit of panel lining, a little bit of shading, and they'll look great. When it comes to the evils of model kits being the nub marks from chopping it out of the runners, to the mold lines from the molding process and the seam lines where parts come together, there really isn't that much. There's definitely not much in the lines of visible nubs. There isn't really much in the lines of mold lines that I can actually see, but we do have a couple of seams on the legs. The ones on the sides here, you can actually see them from pretty far away, and the worst offenders would be the ones on the front of the leg armor down at the shins. None of them are really deal breakers, but they are there. But on the whole, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. The colors are great. The overall proportions are very unique, and what you get in the end is one very cool, yet cute, feminine Gundam. And of course we can't finish off the aesthetics without that size comparison. Now, as you can tell from the footage that you've been seeing so far, I'm out of my office while it is being updated, so I don't have really that much access to kits, so I'm just going to go with the high-grade Ariel and the high-grade Red Rider. So this is a little bit short for a mobile suit, but in and around the usual size. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's the N-Gage Zero with absolutely everything that it does come with. So what we get in here is a full runnerless stand, a pair of beam sabers, a beam rifle, a shield, an alternate massive backpack, and we do have some alternate hands in here. We've got a grand total of 5 hands. That is widespread, fists, and one for holding onto the rifle. So yeah, first off, talking about the hands on this kit, I've had the widespread on the whole time because they look the most natural when it's not holding onto any weaponry, and these are some very, very nice sculpted hands. They're both extremely detailed and very delicate looking, which does match the overall, almost delicate aesthetic of this particular kit. When it comes to swapping the hands out in this, it's the usual ball joints. You just pull them out, stick in the other ones. These hands attach on perfectly. And the alternate hands are a pair of holding hands. Now these are the usual ones with the hole in them. There is some nice sculpting, especially around the joints on the individual digits, but it's got that weird thing that Bandai's been doing lately where it looks like there's something actually sculpted into the palm of the hand. Maybe this is for when it's holding onto the weapons to make it look like at least there's something in its hand, but when there's nothing in there, it does look a little bit on the odd side. When it comes to the weapons in here, we do have a pair of beam sabers in your average Gundam pink. Everything about these beam sabers for the most part is quite average. The handle is made out of 2 segments. These slide on into the hands perfectly. They don't fall out. They hold nicely. There it is in a pose with the beam sabers, and for the most part this works out well, and the articulation is decent enough besides some shoulder issues. When the beam sabers are not in use, you can just pop out the beam as usual, and these pop round back, not into the actual usual position. These attach onto some articulated segments that come out from the rear of the back, just at the back of the clavicle section. So these don't actually attach into the backpack on this kit, which is cool and unusual. They are articulated, so you got a bit of side-to-side action. And I will mention, these beam sabers are made out of 2 pieces, and you're more than likely going to pull off the top piece of the beam saber than the beam or the actual attachment point. So you might want to actually glue both parts of the beam sabers together to save yourself some headaches. Next up in here we have the beam rifle, which is very similar, if not exactly the same as the GP01 Gundam's beam rifle. I will mention that I was a little bit lazy while making this video and I just left the beam rifle in the hand the entire time, but we do have a right hand for holding onto this rifle, so you can't make this kit ambidextrous when it comes to the rifle. Right hand only. Overall, the design of this is quite simple. It's just 3 pieces of plastic that's half and half, and the barrel. And we do have a sticker for attaching on for the sight inside of it, so it catches the light quite nicely. Once again, here I will mention that the shoulders on this can't raise parallel to the ground. They can't actually T-pose fully, which I will mention later on. So that does mean aiming this weapon is a little bit awkward. You can't get it to aim out entirely to the side. It is a little bit on the awkward side, sadly. The next piece of equipment we have in here is the shield. Now this is quite simple. It's just some white plastic on blue plastic with a little bit of a handly section round back for attention into the forearm. It is a very simple shield, but it does what it needs to do and looks fantastic from the front on aspect. The little arm attachment part in here is the old school style, so that means there's 2 balls on it, and you just attach the shield onto whichever ball you want to align it either on the rear of the forearm or on the side of the forearm, and I'm going to be going with the side. This holds on okay, it can be easy to knock off if you're moving it around a lot, and well, it is simple, but it does its job, and once again looks exactly like what we would have seen on the GP01. Lastly then, when it does come to the accessories in here, we do have a choice of backpack, which is pretty cool. We've got the navy blue one, which we've had on the whole time, which is quite small, and we've got the absolutely massive one in a nice turquoise. First off, with the original one that was on here, this is very simple. It does have a sticker on it, it's navy blue, and it does have a little bit of articulation. It can pivot up and down just like so, which is a cool effect. Now what is not a cool effect, and I am totally shocked and disappointed by this, we do not have the standard backpack adapter in here. It's a big square hole instead, which means a lot of out-of-box customization with other kits, other high-grade kits, is completely gone. Anyway, they're slapping on the bigger backpack. This booster right here has 4 big thrusters round back. The actual color of this really does match with the mobile suit so well. An extra little splash of color that surprisingly works very nicely. This big old backpack also features some simple articulation as well. We've got some peg attachments to both of these big thrusters. They can move independently up and down like so. And we do have a little bit of wiggle when it does come to the big old verniers around the back. Once again, there it is in a little bit of a pose, and this adds a lot of nice bulk round back, and like I mentioned, a nice splash of turquoise on there as well. However, it is a massive disappointment. We do not have the universal high-grade backpack adapter here. So finally jumping into the articulation, and when it comes to the build of this kit and the build strength, it is rock solid. This is an interesting combination build. It's half using polycaps in some of the joints, and then in some other joints like the hips and the shoulders, it's plastic on plastic, and they are quite strong. First off, throwing it into the usual pose just to test out the overall articulation on this kit, and I have to say I am a little bit shocked and a little bit disappointed it doesn't perform as well as I thought it would. This is a kit that its overall articulation is definitely worse than the sum of its parts. First off, we've got some annoying limitations at the shoulder. When I tried to throw this into a standard T-pose, it cannot raise its arms all the way up. Now this does mean it can't aim outwards at all, no matter what way you roll the shoulders over or roll them back or flip them the full 360 around, it will always be aiming at a really awkward direction because of the weird design they've done here. Next up, when it comes to the ab crunch, there is no ab crunch in here. This is very classic when it comes to a high grade, so not unusual, but it is a little bit disappointing in 2023. Now, when I was trying to get this down into a lunge, it was a bit limited. This isn't the knees. The knees are actually great. We have 2 points of bend when it comes to the knee, and they do bend all the way back. The limitation was once again with the ankles on this, which I have to say have decent articulation for the most part. Nice forward and back and side to side, just not enough to get some nice wide leg poses. Finally, the last thing I will mention about the articulation on this is it's got some very interesting hips. If you pop off the leg, we've actually got what is almost like a drum style rotation inside of this. So the leg attaches onto that peg, and that peg can, well, travel the whole face of the clock, if you get what I mean. Can go the whole way around, and it's the same on the other side, and they're not attached to each other, so it is independent. However, I do find when you are actually posing this a lot, what tends to happen is they go from the original set position, which is up or to the back, to straight on down, which does lengthen the legs a bit. I like the overall look, but if you prefer them up where they should be, they do work their way down a lot, which can be a bit annoying. However, on the whole, what you do get out of it, especially most of the time, is pretty decent poses. Even though it does have some limitations, it looks fantastic, especially in the air. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade GP00 N-Gage 0. Now this is a bit of a mixed bag of a kit, but for the most part it's all good, and this gets gold tier for me. Again, this is classic gold tier, so I haven't changed the tiering system just yet, so this is better than I would expect from an average old school high grade. Aesthetically, it looks absolutely fantastic. It does rely on some stickers for some colors, but overall it is a winner with that cool feminine silhouette and super bright colors. When it comes to the accessories in here, you get the full loadout plus an extra big backpack, all of which work very well in the simple old school kind of way, but it is a bit of a letdown we don't have the usual backpack universal joint. Finally then, when it does come to the articulation, it is par for the course for an older style high grade, but when you do get it into the air, it can get into some fantastic poses, and mixed with the nice accessories that we've gotten here, the overall cool silhouette and colors, this thing always does look pretty awesome. So the best aspects of this kit definitely outweigh the worst ones. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, I got mine through BUYEE, you can too. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. And I'll also mention, apologies on not putting the end card for the Patreon and the channel memberships lately. They're actually on a hard drive that was in my office, and I disassembled my office, so hopefully I'll get it back up and running properly by the end of the month. Anyway, as always, I'll see you next time.